Jason, Nate Diaz is playing a great game of anything you can do, I can do better when he applied for a boxing license. This is courtesy of an ESPN report from
Brett Okamoto.
Brett Okamoto. Now, he broke this news today where basically a UFC veteran is in the process of applying for a professional boxing license in Nevada. Now, while this may come as a surprise to some people, if you've been following Nate Diaz's journey after the fight, the second match with Conor McGregor, he's made it avidly clear he does not want to participate in any other UFC fight other than a rubber match with Conor McGregor. And courtesy of Floyd Mayweather, he even spoke about how Nate Diaz and him had a conversation in which Nate said UFC put him on the shelf, he wants to stay active. And in that case, he talked about how he wanted to box. So this is not a surprise in terms of that, but I wanted to get your thoughts initially before we get into some of the quotes on it. What do you think this means for Nate Diaz? Like, is this a way to kind of push the envelope towards the UFC, like use me or I'm going to go somewhere else? Or is it a way to say to Conor McGregor, if you're going to go and box, I'm going to join you and we're going to settle this thing in the boxing ring?
I think it's just relevance. It's consistent relevance. I think that there's a landscape in the UFC that you have to keep your name in the headlines regardless. And if that means little subtle trolls like going to get a Nevada State boxing license, by all means. Is Nate Diaz going to be a boxer? I don't think so. Granted, he's sparred for a long time, and he's done it multiple times in the past with, and so has his brother Nick, with Andre Ward.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of his training. I think there's a degree of boxing in Nate Diaz's training. I think a lot of this is, Conor did it, I'm going to do it too, and I get an ESPN article out of it. But my bigger takeaway is, since when did, and this is no disrespect to Floyd Mayweather, but since when did talking to Floyd Mayweather or a Floyd Mayweather quote become so heavy in weight in terms of, well, because there's a quote we have here from Floyd, which we'll get to later, but everything with is now Floyd's either training this person or Floyd talked to Conor about this. And I get it, it's all speculation, but he's gone from all action and little talk in the past when he was a boxer and always winning because it didn't matter, he just never lost, to all talk and zero action.
I think he's got nothing
He's bored?
else to do. Yeah, I think he's genuinely bored. This is, Mayweather is, let's be honest, right?
I think he doesn't have money.
I think when Floyd Mayweather announced his retirement from boxing, I think he had everything panned out. But as we always talk about, when you go from doing something every day, which is the only thing you know, to not doing it every day, I mean, he still trains other fighters. He's still got his organization. The money team is very well off in terms of all their different assets and the things that they do. They train young fighters. They've got their fingers in more pies than Jim Livingston,
That's
some would
such
say.
a good reference.
But
good job.
What it means is that he becomes bored and the media attention becomes lackluster. This is what another harsh reality that Floyd Mayweather probably realizes. Once you're out of the limelight, no one really cares. No one really cares about what you did in the past, right? Especially when you're someone that's had a tarnished past.
That makes sense.
Past. Like, I'm not saying that Floyd Mayweather is in the same light as a Muhammad Ali, even though his record is phenomenal. But there's certain figures that go on past their time in the ring, right? And if Floyd Mayweather's past kind of burnt that bridge, he wasn't going to be looked at every time a boxing fight came around. He's not going to be looked at as an analyst because I don't think he wants to, but again, I don't think a lot of people would be willing to do that because they don't want to put him in that light. So I think he's just wanting to continue his conversation, his involvement in the sport.
The attention is becoming, he wants the attention. He's crashing boxers' post-fight interviews, you know, and he's there. I think you're right. I don't like the speculation so much as to think that we're trying to figure out what Floyd Mayweather is doing. Is he bored? Is he this? It's just, since he's stopped fighting, he has been in the headlines more than he ever was when he was actually fighting. Because when he was fighting, it was just about his next fight, his interview with 24/7 on HBO or Showtime or whatever it was, and of course Mayweather-Pacquiao. And then we talked about it. Andre Berto did 300-something thousand pay-per-view buys, which, I mean, a UFC card without a title fight could do. UFC Fight Night could do.
Yeah.
On pay-per-view if it wanted to at this point. We have a couple quotes. Okamoto quote number one. Nevada State Athletic Commission has confirmed to ESPN that it has been in contact with Diaz's representatives for several weeks and that Diaz is currently in the process of filing the necessary paperwork for a boxing license backed up by Bob Bennett, Nevada State Athletic Commission Executive Director. We welcome Nate and his older brother Nick to fight in Las Vegas, whether it's with the UFC or a boxing promoter. And lastly, Floyd Mayweather. When I talked to Nate Diaz, he told me that UFC had put him on the shelf. He said, since the second fight with Conor McGregor, they put me on the shelf. I'm ready to stay busy, stay active. Nate Diaz even talked to me about coming to box. It's all talk. Talk is cheap. Let's see what happens. All the UFC fighters wanting to box is it's a funny shift. Because the UFC's goal should be to completely bury boxing altogether. And now some of the UFC guys want to box.
I think it's partly because of the fact that he's just paid up, what, 50 grand for the fine that he had to pay
he paid
during
that
the
off,
press
though.
conference.
He did
Yeah, he
pay
just
it.
paid it. And I'm sure that Nate Diaz, from all the talks that he's had in the past, he's not someone that just disregards money. He views it as something that he wants.
Have you read the story of when he first...
No, what
When he
happened?
first got, he thought like his first fight he was gonna be rich, and
Yeah.
he got his, like, after all was said and done, he wanted to go and buy like a shiny new car, and like the dealer was like, "You can afford a Honda Civic."
Yeah, exactly.
And he bought a Honda Civic.
He's not one of these fighters that's so blinded by the limelight that he doesn't realize the value that it takes, and he has to manage his money. So I'm sure that would have hurt him. I'm sure he didn't want to pay for that, and I think that it's going to hurt him even more that the UFC, in a way, didn't give him any backing by maybe offering him a lucrative deal for another fight. And I think he felt undermined when Conor McGregor moved on to the Eddie Alvarez fight, and he wanted his chance to get back at it because McGregor was given his chance after he lost. He wanted his chance back at it again to make some more money and to right the wrongs that he felt were prominent in that fight. So I understand where Nate Diaz is coming from, but I'm completely in the same boat as you when it comes to the relevance thing. I think that it's a way to say to the UFC, hey, I'm still here, I'm willing to go elsewhere, even though when push comes to shove, I don't think it would be the smartest decision because, yeah, we're alluding to the fact that Conor McGregor could make a transition to boxing based on the way we've seen him in several fights, but it's not an easy transition. It's going to be a very hard one. My money would be on Conor McGregor struggling against most top-quality boxers. Like, these are guys that have trained in this sport their whole lives, and I think that it's something that would be deemed as easy to transition. I don't think it would be at all. Like, Nate Diaz has trained with boxers in the past. Does that mean if he was to step into the ring with a veteran boxer that he would stand more of a chance of what he would if he was going into the UFC? Not at all. I think that his smartest move is to knock back on Dana White's door and say, where's my shot at Conor McGregor? When is this going to happen? Because I think it is inevitable that we're going to get a trilogy. I just don't know when. And neither does he. I think that's his problem.
That's gonna be a good fight, man.
It's going to
Not
be a
with
great
boxing gloves though, with fucking UFC gloves.
one. Yes, sir.
Come on.
Keep going in the right direction.
I agree with you, Francis Maxwell. But
Does
it's not.
the comments agree with
It's
us?
at Francis M. Maxwell on Twitter, and I changed. I know it's not. It's not at Francis M.
I'm
Maxwell.
going to write this down.
It's at Francis M. Maxwell on Instagram.
Wait, what the hell is this?
It's Franny. I added an element. Do you see it? Do you see the element I added? It's element G.
This is Jason Rubin's.
G underscore. I can't believe it took you 3 clips to pick that up.
I just realized that on my paper.
There's a question mark. Rangers are better than Celtic question mark. That's all.
That's a Jason
That's all.
Rubin. If
That's
I've
all.
ever seen one comment.
I am in no fault here. I was just saying, are Rangers better than Celtic? Question mark. I am still learning the beautiful game to this day, and I wanted to know, objectively speaking, whether or not element G, which does not exist, I made it up and wrote it on his paper, if it existed.
All right, well, this is for Jason
You have
Rubin's clarification.
Element Q.
And every single person's
You writing in
clarification.
cursive? Do you write in cursive?
Yes.
Really?
All right. Francis M. Maxwell on InstaFace.
Instant face.
Instant face.
And
And
snap
Francis
face.
_ Maxwell
On Snap.
on Twit face.
Yeah, snap face.
Thank you, Bill Belichick, for clarifying what they're called.
Instant face.
Hit us in the comments. Let us know. Nate Diaz moving over to boxing. Does it intrigue you? Is it just another means to say, hey, I'm still here. Where is my fight? Let us know in the comments.
Which wingspan you
Jason
got?
Face on InstaFace.
Which wingspan you got, bro?
I'm pretty long arms.